Now, in 2015, a mass political crisis in Burundi led to conflict and the persecution of perceived enemies of the state. Now, it led to over 400,000 Burundians fleeing their country. Recent UN reports confirming human rights violations and crimes against humanity on a large scale. Today, many of those who fled, they live, in fact, in refugee camps or on the run, many in neighbouring countries like Tanzania and Rwanda. But as attacks by Burundian government-aligned groups have continued, well, many have fled even further now to Kenya, and even there, many still fear for their lives. From there, Julia Steers and Bastien Renouy report for France 24.
In this Nairobi suburb, many Burundians live in hiding. They fled their country after a May 2015 coup attempt to unseat current President Pierre Nkurunziza, who was pursuing what many thought to be an illegal third term. Journalist Albert Masangwa left in June that year, after facing threats for his work at a TV station that broadcast the coup leader's message.
That day I was in the office working, when suddenly a group of cars, a military procession of some sort, barged in. One of them gave us a video saying that they organized a coup against the regime of Pierre Nkurunziza.
He became one of the first journalists to be targeted by the regime and had to flee. 3 years later, daily life in Kenya is still a struggle for him, his wife, and 5 children. Their asylum paperwork hasn't been processed.
We cannot work, so we cannot pay the rent, feed ourselves, clothe ourselves. It's like I'm in an open-air prison.
Independent media can no longer operate freely in Burundi. Eloge Kaneza, a journalist now based in Nairobi, coordinates a network of reporters in exile working with informants in Burundi.
Every morning, our editorial meeting takes place on WhatsApp. We have a Twitter account that currently has more than 32,000 subscribers. So there's no official news today?
But for journalists in and outside the country, their work continues to be dangerous.
There are some officials who see us as opponents, who think we are members of the opposition.
And those who actively resisted the regime fear deadly retribution, even on the run. Captain Epitas Nimbona refused an order to shoot on anti-Nkurunziza protesters in 2015. Since then, he's defected from the army and was forced into hiding because of death threats like this letter.
I found it under the door where I live. For you, Captain, we know where you are, and we will give you what you deserve.
According to human rights reports, the reach of a regime-loyal militia, the Imbonerakure, extends well beyond Burundi.
They want to send Imbonerakure in all of the East African countries, even further, to track all opponents.
There are over 13,000 registered Burundians living as refugees in Kenya. Over 4,000 of them live in Kakuma camp, among a population of 185,000. It's the second largest camp in the country. They came in search of safety, but found everyday life to be a struggle. Christina fled after her husband was killed in the protests. To provide for her family, she collects water at communal boreholes and gets by on donated food.
We don't have running water, there's no milk for the children, we don't have access to any good food for the kids. It's terrible, really terrible, but we don't have a choice. We have to stay here, because we're refugees.
She's managed to build a life here and send her kids to school, but still faces threats that are all too familiar.
We can't find peace here because of the young Imbonerakure who are here in Kenya continuing their mission. And we know who they are because they were there when we were protesting back home.
Inside the camp, there's a protected area meant for refugees at serious risk of being attacked.
Usually a person is brought here when they are interviewed by the protection office.
But the area can't accommodate all those in danger. Despite her appeals to camp police, this former opposition party member still lives outside the protection area.
The main problem here is that those people still come to look for me. I even recognized some of them. They came from Bujumbura and they were threatening to kill me.
In one incident, she narrowly escaped from would-be attackers.
There was this time I was so scared that I thought it was the end for me. So I went to the window and I broke it like this, just to be able to get out.
There's now a UN program to repatriate refugees from regional camps back to Burundi. But despite the threats in Kakuma, most are too fearful to return to the situation at home.